All right, so here's a question for you. Have you ever had to go into a physical space and give a presentation or have an engagement with a high-level person where the outcome is kind of no-fail, super high stakes, high risk, whether it's sales, whether it's convincing your boss to resource a project or present an idea to your peers in a meeting or give a keynote on a stage with a lot of people? Odds are you probably have. If you're watching this, one, you're the type of pro that is interested in the things we talk about in the Rooftop Rally Point sessions. So I suspect you've had to do this, and I suspect you'll have to do it again. Absolutely had to do that my whole life in special operations, and also now as a human connection coach and storyteller, I'm constantly in that space, and I'm constantly working with civilian leaders, law enforcement, and military who have to do that. And what I want to do today is I want to talk about a lesson that I learned in special ops, but it's really pervasive in a lot of other military organizations, but that I think can really help you have a competitive edge, or as our subtitle says, that can help you win before you even show up when you have to do that, right? And it's called the Leaders Recon. When I was going through the qualification course, for example, for special forces, we were doing phase 1 small unit tactics. And we were moving, just patrolling basically. And you do this in all aspects of ground infantry and stuff in the military. But this one is, no go, fail, pass kind of thing, go, no go. And my graded patrol was to go up and basically hit a target. And several other patrol leaders had already been relieved by this instructor, who was a pretty tough guy. I was given the mission right at the end of it, right when we were about to execute. The last patrol leader was relieved. I was given the mission. And so we were running low on time. And if you don't execute in time, you're done. And so I was looking at failure as soon as I got the mission. And so I decided that we were going to go ahead and get up on the target, and we were going to put eyes on the target, as we call it, or do a leader's recon. And a lot of my guys were like, hey, we don't have time for that. But I just felt like that was the one thing we had to do. If we didn't do that, then everything else was probably going to fall apart. But if we could get eyes on the target, then we could adjust even under the time constraints. So we did. We hustled up, probably louder than we should have been. But we got to a vantage point. We put eyes on the target, and we went back. And then once we saw the objective, it was much different than what we thought. We adjusted the plan under the consideration of the mission, enemy troops available, all those things that we had to do. And it worked. And afterwards, the instructor gave me a go, thankfully. And he said that the reason that he gave me the go was not the actual target itself, but the fact that we put eyes on the target beforehand, even though we were under a time constraint and we could have not done that. And he was going to fail me if I didn't. But because we put eyes on, he said that was when we started to win. And I never forgot that. I mean, there were plenty of other real world missions where, we did Leaders Recon, but it always stuck with me, the importance of putting eyes on target or doing a Leaders Recon. When you have to go into physical space and engage or present or tell a story or communicate, whether it's an all hands of you giving your company vision to your people, it's a keynote, or it's your daughter's wedding, and you're going to give the speech at the banquet, it's a really good idea to do a Leaders Recon. Get in that space, own that space ahead of time, and put eyes on. And you'll be amazed how differently you'll show up in the moment. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, first of all, we're mammals, right? We require psychological safety. And when we go up in a room full of people that's high stakes and high risk, you're automatically going to be feeling anxiety. You're automatically going to be worried about stuff. It's natural. I don't care how good you are at presenting or whatever, you're going to feel that. So what we want to do is, that's just energy, and we want to transfer that energy out into the room where we're not in our head, but we're connected with people. Otherwise, you look like you don't trust yourself, as Bo Eason says. So how do we do that? Well, one way is to get in the space ahead of time. Movement coach Jean-Louis Rodrigue has his students actually go in and mark their territory, as he calls it. Touch the walls, touch the chairs, touch the tables. Why? Because you're creating psychological safety for yourself, the same way that an animal, when it goes into space, will mark its territory because it knows that it's been there before, and it's letting other mammals know that it's been there before. It seems crazy, but it's primal and it works. If you get into the space ahead of time, touch the walls, touch the chairs, stand where you're going to stand when you're called to the podium, you'll be amazed at how when it's game day and you walk up and do that, how much more comfortable you feel in that space. And now you're not in your head looking at the mic for the first time or that the podium is too high, but you've actually been there and you own that space now. People around you will sense that at a semi-conscious level, and you'll create psychological safety for them. So, and you know, get in there, look at the room, test the acoustics, actually do a full dry run in there. Have your slides if you're going to use them. Please, I hate slides, but if you're going to use them, throw them up there, test fire them, go through the whole thing. Own that space, put eyes on, practice in that space, and make it your room. And the people in the room, they will sense that from you. They will appreciate that from you. And then you will establish in that room what Daniel Coyle says is essential for a high-performing culture, which is psychological safety and connection. Just by going in and putting eyes on your target, right? By doing a Leaders Recon, you can change everything. Now, people ask me, how soon should I do that? Look, ideally, if you can get in that space 24 hours, Bo Eason, one of the greatest speakers I've ever trained with, my mentor, he likes to get in a room a day ahead of time, right? And that's great if you can do it. I say, even if you can get in the room an hour ahead of time in today's fast-paced world, that's a win too. You want to try to get in there before other people are in there, right? Now, if you're going to go to a conference or something and you're coming on later on and you can't get in, then maybe you can ask for a lunch period to get in there or a break to get in the room with everybody out of there, right? But get in that space ahead of time with no one in there. Do a recon, mark your territory, test your voice, test the movement, see how it feels, run everything, do a full dry run, and you will already start to win before you show up. It's a huge edge. No one does it, right? And it'll give you a big, big leg up when it's time to present and the stakes are high. I hope this helps you. Thanks for what you do. And listen, don't forget to check us out on rooftopleadership.com. We're there. All of these vlogs plus all of last year's vlogs are there. There's a ton of content. It's free. It can really help you with what you do. Keep doing what you're doing. We need your leadership out there, all right? See you on the rooftop.